BW Thinking Law podcast,
Yes.
episode 5.
Episode 5 already.
Very special edition of the podcast today.
Yes, absolutely.
My name is Carlos,
I'm Banana.
and we're your friends in the law
Yes.
and current affairs, as it turns out. Because last
Exactly.
week's episode was all current affairs. It was
Yes.
fantastic. So we thought, okay, let's carry the theme a little bit today.
Yes.
Talking about something that's been on everybody's lips the entire week, budget speech.
Yes.
But and Manolo is a lawyer. I'm just a guy off the street. So we're not gonna sit here and try and make it seem like we're gonna have this conversation by ourselves and everything will make sense.
What? Am I not that awesome guy?
No, come along with the law. I trust you 100%. But in this regard, please do the honors and introduce our guest.
Yes.
And you'll break it down because honestly, as I said, I'm the guy on the street. So
Yeah.
today, I'm literally just gonna sit back,
Yes.
have a good time, and enjoy the conversation. Already, we've been talking for about 30 minutes before we started the podcast.
Exactly.
And I've learned so much. I'm just taking notes. I'm just sponging up everything. So please do the honors, man. And I'll be very happy if you just, talk with me today on
Okay.
today's episode.
All right. Then maybe Rajesh, please introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
Thanks, Bonolo. Thanks for this wonderful invite.
Thank you.
Name's Rajesh Narasimhan. I've been in Botswana for a long time, 27 years as years goes. Maybe older than one of you here. I mean, as far as my stay is concerned, I'm a chartered accountant by profession. Worked in, have been in practice most of my life. Throughout my life, I can say that. And as far as Botswana is concerned, I have only been in practice. So I am at the moment. I have my own practice called RM Tax Consulting, specialized mostly in taxes. Do bit of accounting work. Not a big expert, or I can say I don't know anything about audit and secretarial services. So I'm not even going to act as if I know something. Okay. Yes, but being a partner at Grant Thornton, so the last few years I've given the various companies I worked has given a lot of insight into taxes. I'm part of the BCA's technical tax committee, so I'm also I'm also one of the persons who regularly invited to be part of the delegation that goes and meets BERS on various issues. So it has given me an opportunity to understand taxes a bit more. I've had the opportunity to be with many individuals who probably had a lot to do with the taxes in Botswana, and that has actually given me a lot of insight into what certain things happen. And today, if I'm in called to be in a podcast, it's a reflection of all these persons' influence. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us. For me, throughout the years of practice as well, I find a lot of intersection between law and tax because you find people maybe who are employees who don't understand what tax should be deducted from their salaries, or sometimes the tax will be deducted from their salaries and not remitted to URS, or sometimes you find that the tax that is deducted is either less than or higher than what should be deducted and things like that. So we do sometimes get tax questions that I cannot answer. I'll say to people, look, I can do law all the time, like Carlos says, but when it comes to tax, sorry. So I'm very happy that you have agreed to join us, and we're hoping that you will be a regular so that we can take advantage of your full knowledge when it comes to tax. Because I think tax is a very pivotal and important thing given what was discussed in the budget speech about taxes. Because when I called Carlos and I said, look, Rajesh will be joining us, he's like, yes, they said they're increasing taxes, so we really need to know this. So I think it's very important for us to have a discussion around those changes in law in relation to tax, what it is that we can expect, and things of that nature.
So the first thing is, as far as the budget is concerned, there's only one aspect that they talked about.
Yes.
1.5% increase.
Yes.
What does it mean? So as far as companies are concerned, the 22% becomes 23.5%. It's not a train smash. I'm sure every company will be able to afford that 1.5%.
Wait, but Rajesh, when you say companies not 22%, 23.5%, what is it that we're referring to? Because I'm here thinking, okay, which 22% are we making reference to?
Okay. Companies on their profit pay tax to the government through BRS.
Yes.
The tax rate that is there at the moment is 22%. So you then this 1.5% increase means 22.5%. Also, there are other rates of taxes, like for example, if you're a manufacturing company, Botswana charges taxes at 15%. So that would probably become 16.5%. And then you have the IFSC companies. That is also have a tax rate of 15% on taxes in Botswana. That is, sorry, their taxes are 15%. So even that could increase to 16.5%. And then you have the special privilege for Celebi Piquet. There is certain industry.
Special economic zones.
Yes.
Yes.
That's Spedu. Spedu's tax was 10%, if I'm not mistaken. That will probably increase to 11.5%. So all these taxes, these are all for corporate income tax. So that is going to increase by 1.5%.
Okay. So let's take it, when you say corporate income tax, you're talking about the entity itself and
Yes.
not individuals.
At the moment, I was talking about.
Okay.
So taxes are paid by whom? Majority companies, then the individuals, then there are other forms of associations, entities, etc. Right?
Yes.
So now individuals are taxed at a slab rate. So they say the highest slab rate, which is 25%. So at the moment, anybody who's got an income of more than 156,000 pula per annum, they fall in the highest category of taxes, which will be at 25%. That it will increase to 26.5%. So if
Very interesting. So you're saying if my income is 90,000 per year,
okay,
it then means that I will continue to pay, let's say, tax for the year 2024 was 90,000. Sorry, no, income tax was on the 90,000 that I earned as a salary.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's only when I reach the highest
slab
level that then is increased from 25% to
26.5.
So anyone below that highest level will not get the increase.
So at the moment in Botswana, tax slabs are not in my memory.
Yes.
Up to 48,000, there is no tax.
Yes.
Between 48 and the next 36,000, which is about what, 84,000, the tax is at 5%. So then, so if your salary is 50,000 pula per annum, so that's about 2,000 more than the base slab.
Yes.
So you'll pay 5% of 2,000. You are paying 5%, you will continue to pay 5%. So the next slab is after the 36,000. So it will be 48 plus 36, 84. So anything more than 84, it is at 12.5%. You will continue to pay at 12.5. Then the next slab after 36,000 will be at 18.75. You will continue to pay 18.7. Anything more than 156,000, which is the top slab, it is taxed at 25%. Now you'll start paying at 26.5%. So essentially, you're taxing the rich.
Yes, yes, it
Okay.
sounds like it, yes.
But we always said 156,000. That's 14,000 pula. It's not rich.
Yes.
At the moment in Botswana, it's not rich. It's maybe my numbers are all wrong, but I certainly feel that there are a lot of people at that level will still need assistance.
Yes, because I'm here thinking to myself, okay, let's say I've been earning 150,000 per annum, right?
200,000, let's say. That's it.
Yes, let's say 200,000 per annum. And this 200,000, how much does it come to per month?
Roughly about 18, 19,000. Less than 15 is 180, so about 16,000 plus
per month, right? And unfortunately, what I've realized is, as a country, we have a problem with debt, right? So now, then it means from the 16,000 that I earned, I already knew what the tax was going to be, which probably means I've committed what I know my take home is.
Yeah.
So there's going to be now a disparity because there's going to be that extra 1.5% that has to be deducted and goes to my taxes.
So this probably will start coming from the 1st of July 2026.
You think so?
Yeah, because normally they'll look at it from the tax year. So we are already in tax year 2025. June 2025 is the tax year, right? So we're already in that tax year. So they'll not go and adjust your income. So it is much more simpler if they say it is from 1st of July 2025, which is June 2026 tax year. So it has always been like that. So it will be always after the budget. The next tax year is when they impose. So by that time, this has to be gazetted, come out. So it will all happen.
So then it means that this is the time to be talking to employers to increase salaries. To
But now they have to worry about their own 1.5 that they'll pay for.
Exactly. You talk to an employer now, they can say, yeah, I know you have to pay more tax, but I also have to pay more tax. So let us work together, get more money, and
yeah. So 25% on what 14, 15K a month seems excessive.
More than 14, roughly about 13,000 something.
13,000.
Yeah.
What's our tax rate like compared to other countries, especially countries around us? Are we up there or
we're low? We're still low.
Yes, because from the budget speech, it seems like we're actually one of the lowest countries regionally. So we don't seem to be that bad.
Okay.
Maybe Botswana has probably got one of the lowest tax rates. The thing is also that the taxes are quite simple, I would say. So that it doesn't. The reason why I'm saying what I'm saying is because there isn't much you can do with the taxes because your income is this, you pay this. So what can you do if your income is this? You have to pay that.
Yes.
So if you go in other countries, there's a lot of if this happens and this happens, then you do this. So the way they structure the act is too complicated. Then you can play around with taxes. In many ways, it makes it quite simple for the user, for the taxpayers, the tax administrator. It just makes it quite simple. So they've been very clear to say these are the incomes. This is how you're taxed. And as long as the income, if you're a citizen, your worldwide income is obviously taxed in Botswana. If you're a non-citizen, your income that accrues to you in Botswana is taxed in Botswana. Or if you bring in any income into Botswana, that is taxed. Okay. So it's quite it's a simple system. I'm sure people complicate it, but if you look at it, if you can break it down, it is actually a very simple system that it's there. You just need a little bit of time and energy to go through it and read it.
Yes. I think for me, if you can explain what corporate tax is, because in my mind, from a legal perspective, when you say corporate, I think company, right? And then I know that there are other entities that exist outside of this definition of company. And a perfect example is a law firm, right? A law firm is not a company.
It's a partnership.
It's a partnership or sole proprietorship. And you made mention of societies and associations, trusts. There's some completely different creature. So when we talk about this 1.5 increase of corporate tax? Are we only looking at entities like companies? Or?
The act is clear. I mean, what the budget says is a 1.5% increase.
Mm-hmm.
So in my understanding, any increase, any final tax increases is going to go up by 1.5%. That is why I said in a company, in different type of companies, whatever is the tax, it is going to increase by 1.5%. So I am also presuming that if it is a partnership, but the partnership is not taxed in the hands of the partnership, but it is taxed in the hands of the partners. So partners obviously are individuals, so the taxes go up.
So it would be looked at as income tax.
Income tax.
Oh, okay.
And as far as trust is concerned, the trust is taxed as a non-resident in Botswana. So that means every income is taxed. You don't have that first slab of 48,000 as far as trust is concerned. So their income is taxed as a non-resident, and the distribution is free of tax. So
wait, why is it taxed as a non-resident?
They didn't put a separate rate for a trust. So they have 2 or 3 rates, and then they say if it is a company, it is taxed at 22%. If it is an individual who is a resident, it is taxed at this rate. If it's a non-resident, it's taxed at that rate. So when it comes to trust, they say we'll use the non-residents rates and tax it. Okay, so just to make it simpler and easier again. So, and they will say if it is a foreign company, it is taxed at 30%. So I don't know whether that is also going to go up by 31.5%. So but again, what has been said has to be gazetted and come as a law.
Exactly.
So at that time, things will be more clearer for us.
Yes, because you might find, because here he just says both corporate tax and personal income tax for the high earners.
Yeah.
But you know that sometimes when the law then comes, the picture might be a bit different from what was set out, considering any number of things. Yes. And for me, I think you make reference to worldwide tax. And one of the things that they're talking about in the budget speech is the thing I keep talking about, monetization of digital platform content creators and things like that. Yeah. So I'm just wondering now, would that then start falling into the worldwide tax?
Not worldwide taxes. Let's say Netflix. Yes. We all have Netflix at home.
Yes.
Netflix is earning income in Botswana.
Yes.
Where does it pay its taxes? Yeah, but why? Isn't it supposed to pay because it's an income accrued in Botswana and it is used by the Botswana public or the residents in Botswana? Isn't it to be taxed in Botswana?
Yes.
That is the digital tax that they are looking at.
Oh, I see.
So this is these platforms that comes through eBay, Amazon. Everybody today I can. Let's say, for example, I want to set up an internet services. I can go to Mauritius, open the company, and start charging people. Okay, we can still get away with it, but if it is an online payment, the taxes are not there. This has been a bugbear for BRS for a very long time, because it is an income that they can see in front of their eyes and they are not taxing it. They hate it. So the last time when there was a meeting specially to discuss this at BRS, and they did mention that they are already in talks with these entities and they will register here in Botswana. So obviously, how it happens is you're paying online.
Yes.
So the way it will happen is how do you pay rent? For a corporate, you pay rent, you deduct withholding taxes, pay the owner, and go to BRS and pay the balance.
Yes.
I'm assuming this will happen same thing for a Netflix. Want to pay Netflix? It's $10. Pay the $1.5 to BRS. Pay them the $8.5. So, Netflix will be registered in Botswana and it will go into their account.
Okay, so then it would be on me to say when I pay online, let's say the Netflix subscription is $100. Then I pay Netflix $90 and then pay $10.
That's gonna be tough.
Yeah, that's. Can they not deduct directly from Netflix?
And also, this is very interesting because I'm sure Botswana is not the first country to say this.
No, South Africa has already done it.
How are they doing it?
There will be a change in the system. If you read the act, read the budget speech, one of the things that is happening, and it is going on a pilot scheme soon, is something called as online VAT invoicing. So I'm not 100% sure of how it is because I haven't seen it, mechanics.
Yeah.
But the whole idea is just to avoid duplication of work.
Yes.
When you raise an invoice, it automatically goes into the BRS system. So it will come in, the VAT will come in as payable by you and to your supplier as receivable. So when they submit the VAT return, you go online, all these things will be populated automatically. So the idea is, because at the moment they're losing a lot of revenue by people not declaring, etc.
Yes.
So this way it'll automatically be there. So when you open your system, your invoice is already there, your VAT is already there. So maybe these kind of things, they'll ask you to punch in the withholding tax as you make payment.
Yes.
So I'm sure Netflix and other people have come across this in every country.
Yes.
So they will bring the platform, BRS will adopt it. I don't think so. They'll make it so complicated that every one of us has to know, sir, I have 15th, I forgot, let me go run and
The reason I say this is because some of these platforms, the payments are automated, right? You say on the 15th of every month, deduct from here. So I'm just wondering if, because one of the things I think for me when it comes to BRS, and I understand about the invoicing and so on, but sometimes you have the invoice that will have VAT, but the VAT is not transmitted to BRS. It will be paid to whoever is charging it, but they don't transmit it to BRS. So I don't know. I'm wondering if there wouldn't be some type of system to say if I'm paying Bonolo, right? The amount will be on its way to Bonolo and sort of split.
It won't be as simple as that because in your firm, you have raised fee notes on your clients, right? So you're charging VAT, but you also paid rent on which you paid VAT. You bought furniture, you paid VAT. You are paying for technical support, you are paying VAT on that. So somebody is also charging you VAT. So what we are doing is setting both, and then the differential we are paying. Now, what I think will happen, I stand to be extremely corrected on this one.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast.
What I think will happen is when you raise a fee note, automatically it will go into yours because your invoice should have your VAT number and your client's VAT number. So as soon as you do online the thing, when you do your VAT invoice online, the system will pick up and say, it has to go to Rajesh. He's registered for tax and Donolo is charging him. So this will go into his as a credit to him. So that when he makes a payment, he'll pay so much less. So let's go. So I'm guessing even for digital taxes, something like this will happen. And also, I'm not sure BERS is going to come down and all the way down to individuals and do it. They might look at it at certain level where people have like a corporate setup. I mean, most hotels these days have these things free, so they are obviously paying. So they will target them. I mean, it could be in that kind of a manner before they come down to everybody. Because rent, for example, it clearly says if I'm an individual and I'm paying to another individual and I'm not claiming it as an expenses, I don't need to deduct it withholding tax, right? To anybody. So even to a corporate, if I'm paying rent and I don't claim that for an expenses in my company or in my business or anything. I just pay the entire amount. So I don't have to now deduct withholding tax, run to BRS and do it. So they have made it easier for individuals. I'm sure they'll come up with something like that.
Yes. And from how you're explaining it, the key might be banks.
Yeah.
It might be where and this is just me spitballing, where if I'm paying through Barclays, is Barclays still in
That's how old
existence?
you are. It's okay.
Yes,
That shows your
answer.
age.
No, let's just keep to Barclays.
So
If I'm
yes,
paying through
perfect.
Barclays, right?
Yeah.
Would it not be possible for the viewers to talk to Barclays and say to Barclays, if you see a transaction for Netflix, right, this is the way you should charge VAT, such that when the money goes to Netflix, then Barclays' system is the one that splits and says,
Very,
$5
very
go
possible.
to URS, $95 goes to Barclays.
Very, very possible. I think that would be the most efficient way to do it, because for it goes through a credit card in any case. I don't even know when my Netflix goes through half the time.
Yes.
When it goes through, it goes through. I don't even remember. Only when it is not working, I say, was there a problem with my card?
Exactly. Okay. No, I completely understand what you're saying. But I then guess it goes back to my other question, right? I understand in relation to digital service providers that are off country. But what about if I'm a content creator in the country and they manage to talk to, let's say, TikTok to monetize, right?
TikTok is also an external person, right? It's as good as viewing a Netflix.
Yes.
If you kind of look at it, the product is different, but you have a service provider who is outside Botswana.
Yes.
You have a user who is inside Botswana.
Yes. But the difference is that, unlike with Netflix, where I am paying out, if it were monetized, then TikTok is paying me.
So it's your income to declare. Now that is now where we initially, when we were brainstorming, how do you define income? But the moment TikToks monetize you, then it is a regular source. They are doing something for making a profit. So obviously you will have to declare it in your personal taxes and file your tax return as other income and say so. But if it is once off, it is obviously not income. We discussed that.
Yes. So it's only the problem only becomes when it's regular. So it means that they should pay me every 2 to 6 months.
Regular could be every year. It's also regular.
Oh, as long as it comes every single year.
And it is with the intention. So it's end of the day, I think it's more common law than anything else, right? If what do you constitute as regular? It could be every day, it could be every month, it could be every year or every 2 years. As long as there is consistency, as long there is a scope to earning that, then obviously birds will look at it and say, this is an income.
Yes.
Oh, okay, you're not earning every day, but it's still an income. But I'm sure we can deliberate on these kind of talks a lot.
Yes. So what constitutes an income for purposes of tax?
Income, in the basic definitions, if you look at it, it is something that you earn on a regular basis, on a consistent basis, doing a similar or same thing. And also it is done with a view to earn a profit. Okay, so then it constitutes income. I'm sure the Income Tax Act has a definition for it. One of these days I'll find it out and I'll produce it. I have a bad thing for us to do it.
Yes. So if maybe I run a farm, right, and I harvest or sell livestock and things of that nature, and 6 months down the line, it's a drought, I don't have anything. Would that constitute income, or is it something else because it's now not regular and it's subject to the elements and things of that nature?
You can choose it to be an income if you want to practice it. But again, the income tax is very clear as far as farming, dry land and everything is concerned. They say you have to have so many hectares or so many heads of cattle before you are forcibly registered.
Oh, really? Then it means that maybe that should be our next topic, to talk about how farming and so on.
Farming is a very, very interesting subject. I mean, I learned a lot after coming to Botswana on farming. I mean, India and other places definitely got a lot of farm this thing, but what I saw in Botswana in the early years, it was amazing. What the act, what was intended for the farmers was also something which was very nice. But as over the course of years, they have changed a lot. Let's say for example, initially it was farming expenses were, I mean, loss can be carried forward indefinitely. So 20 years before loss, you can now claim it and set it off against your profit. Number two, farming loss for the year can be set off against your 50% can be set off against your income.
Like my personal income.
Your personal income.
Oh.
These were all there.
Yes.
Now they're all completely gone. No, why I keep reminding myself that you know I try to analyze why. We don't have maybe today we have a lot of commercial farmers.
Yes.
So initially it was more of like Carlos, he said I have 100 heads of cattle. Let me go, or 110 acres of land. Let me do something. So every Saturday, Sunday, you go there, you do your tilling, you look for your salary money, get it, pay it, do it. And it's not much. And end of the day, you may say, I didn't make it. Or end of the day, you'll say that, okay, I sold few and you're happy. Even if you gain 100 pull-up by that, because it's an effort, it's like you made millions. That's the feeling that was there. So it also, for the big farmers, it was there. They were farmers with big piece of land. Botswana being where it is, because of its climatic conditions and everything, quite a lot of infrastructure before it could. Rain is not a guaranteed thing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Nobody can do. Even if the president puts a dictate, it can't be
done. Exactly.
So what we have to do, we had to rely on many things. So as a result, the farmers were making losses as well, which was recognized and they allowed it. So it's only when it became after a certain level, they said, no, we need to start ring fencing it. Maybe BRS felt that they are not capturing everybody. People are making money. They're rich farmers, but they're not paying any taxes. And you know how these things come up. So that probably was the reason why it was changed.
Yes.
I still feel sorry for the farmers.
Yes, every farmer at home has 5 heads of cattle.
No, he need not declare it, but I'm just saying, even the big farmers, for example, even if you do, there are a lot of farmers who struggle.
Yes.
So personally, I feel it may not have been so bad. I'm not saying there's nothing in the act that it's totally like a commercial thing. It's also one place where your capital expenses can be claimed. If you put up a borehole and the expenses can be claimed as an expense, not as a capital. If you put a fencing, it can come as expenses and not as a capital.
Wait, so if I have a farm and I use my salary to put in a borehole, you're saying I can actually do something from a tax perspective?
You simplified it very much. As I said, for starters, you need to have so many hectares of land or so many heads of cattle to be considered as a farmer. If you consider as a farmer, then your income will be taxed as a farmer. Then these provisions apply. But it also doesn't restrict to say that if you have less, you can't do it. But if you are as I told you, because the laws have changed, now if you have, let's say, 100 heads of cattle and you still want to classify as farmer, you're going to make a loss. But the loss is going to be there for 5 years. It can't be set off against your other income, like a business. It's ring fenced. So you really have to be big for you to really claim it and do it. So 5 heads of cattle.
No, I think you need to come back and explain to us about this.
No, we can talk farming on a more elaborate manner.
Exactly.
Have a clear understanding of where it is, what it is.
Exactly. especially because I think one of the things that we're looking at is they want to bolster food security in the country. So it means that they're giving more resources
Yes.
to farmers,
Yes.
right? And therefore, I think as people take advantage of these resources, they need to know the tax implications that come, or even the tax benefits
Yeah.
that come with venturing into that arena.
Some of these industries, I think they should form, they should come together and then appeal to the minister to basically ask them for benefits.
Yes.
Like any place, it's just how you market yourself,
Exactly.
right? You may get lobby and get it. So people lobby more for relief funds and everything, which is, in my mind, is a one-off thing. So if it, and it can benefit, it cannot benefit. But a permanent thing is like how you treat your taxes, how much benefits you get, because it can be used in other things.
Yes.
So as I told you, the best thing was I had a salary of 100,000. I had a loss of 25,000. Now up to 50,000, up to 12.5, 12,500, I could set off. I could reduce my salary
Yeah.
and then pay tax on the balance. This I thought was nice because it encouraged everybody who had land, who had cattle, to go and do something. Uh, People, I don't know how far what I'm saying is true, but they say that youngsters have moved away from farming and moving more and more to the cities.
Yes.
So there has to be some way to bring them back and make sure that farming is also an industry that they have to do.
Yes.
With right incentives and the right taxes, all these things work well.
Yes, absolutely.
One of the things that was mentioned in the budget on taxes was the advance ruling.
Yes.
Advance ruling basically means this is only in excise and customs at the moment, but I hope it comes in every aspect of taxes.
Yes.
What it means is, let us say, for example, I want to set up a big plant in Botswana. Now, we don't have all the materials. I have to import these materials. Now, when I import the materials, I'm going to be charged customs duties and excise duty. It becomes a cost for me. So I believe what has been said here is now we can go to BRS, get an advance ruling to them saying that this will be exempt or this will be charged instead of 20% at 5%.
Oh.
So it benefits people to set up, bring things.
Yes.
I think that's it wasn't there before. We have gone there before previously asking for clarification. They say there's nothing in the act to say that I can do it. So whenever you write to BRS, they'll say, yes, what you have written is fine, but please file it. We'll have a look at it when it comes. So it's a 50-50 chance that they may. It's the interpretation of the act, right, end of the day. So this advance ruling which the minister has talked about, I hope it comes in every aspect. Even in taxes, even in VAT. When taxes restructuring, there's so much of work that happens in restructuring. At least you can go get an advance ruling to say this is how it is.
Yes.
Makes it easy. Transfer pricing, which is a huge thing that is coming up, right? It's been there now. Buzz is going after people. The minimum tax is 500,000.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the minimum tax that they're charging. I'm sure every department, every organization will start there.
Yes.
It may be a FIA or for the AML or anything. So, if in transfer pricing there is a lot of advanced ruling that needs to be got, because big corporates set up here, they have offices, they want to go across to another country and set up. The first 4 years is you got to pay money, supply, do things. Now, first look at it and say, nah, you're not charging interest on them. So that means they're getting free money there. Right? Now I'm going to say there is an income and charge you. It becomes difficult. You can't set up run business. You can't charge that company interest because it's already not doing well.
Yes.
So advanced ruling helps even in transfer pricing to say this is how my structure is. This is what is going to happen over a period of time. I'm sure most of these there is so much of potential. There's so much of things that happen, and some of those things which is brought I mean, for me, I hear budget, I'm looking at taxes and saying,
I think a lot of us are looking at
Yes.
taxes. Because I'm thinking when you're talking restructuring, I'm thinking about redundancies, right? And some redundancies, yes, they are a consequence of me wanting to change a few things in the company here and there. And then sometimes they are a consequence of not me being unable to make money, right? Then I have to cut a few employees. And if I'm going to be paying employees a certain amount of money and I'm expected to pay tax on top of that, I mean, does that then make sense?
look at it in this manner. You're not paying tax. You're collecting it from his income and paying.
Passing it on together.
I see.
If I owe you because I'm retrenching you, if I owe you 50,000, I'm only deducting that 5,000 from you, paying you 45 and paying the government 5. So
it's never my money. I have to pay 50,000 anyway. I'm just splitting it in a different way. Okay.
so in VAT, withholding tax, whether it is PAYE or other withholding taxes, they're not your money. It's not company's money. You collect it or anybody's collect it and you're going to pay it on their behalf.
I want you to say that a little louder because we know a lot of companies that will deduct paying on withhold paying and then not transmit it to URS.
And
it is not their money.
No, you're right. But if you analyze those companies, they are already struggling. I'm not supporting them. I'm not supporting them. But as long as they make good of it, I'll be happy. The way I look at it is they're still having you without retrenching you. They're still having you. Okay, they're paying you a part of the salary. They are not able to find. So they say instead of the government, I'll deal with them and they charge me interest. Let me have my people so that at least I can do the business. That is how a normal person will behave. So I'm only going in that manner. If you want to cheat a system, you can do it in any manner. You don't have to be naive. You don't have to be the same.
In fact, you're raising a very good point that I've always wondered about. If I, as an employer, did withhold this payee and I don't transmit it to URS, does that negatively impact my employee?
No.
Really?
No, it shouldn't.
So,
what about URS comes to collect? They don't have to deal with the company.
Yeah.
Even after I left the company.
Yeah. Oh.
The deduction of PAYE is the employer's. It lies in the hands of the employer. The Act is very clear. It says the employer will deduct tax on all the income due to the employee. So it literally means if every year, every month your severance pay is due, you are supposed to deduct on that as well. Okay?
Yes.
But people come and say, okay, let me do it on when I pay, I'll deduct it because there is no payment, otherwise it's just an extra additional income, etc., etc. But the act is clear. So when I get my salary, my obligation is complete.
Does it then mean I can get tax clearance even if my employer hasn't paid?
Okay, these are the areas where birds have to start working well.
Yes.
Right, in my view, I feel that BRS does a lot of their work is done by other people by withholding taxes.
Yes.
Right. So if they could ensure that it has been properly done, then it wouldn't create problems for the people who are receiving it.
Yes.
The best example is an employee. All he is getting is 10,000 pula or 5,000 pula on which taxes have to be paid. Yes. And he's deducted and he's getting less and he's ITW8. Everything will say, his pay slip will say that this tax has been deducted. Yes. So in my mind, what has he done wrong?
Exactly.
He hasn't done wrong.
Yes.
But what has happened? The system at BRS will say, you haven't filed, you haven't paid tax because your tax hasn't come to me, so I can't credit it. So now instead of keeping this separate and say, go to the company and say, BRS has got the ability to go to your bank and remove the money. It, look, some of these things becomes not your. Even for example, you have a company which has got you have a building, you have 5 tenants in it, they're paying you rent, you're withholding taxes, so they deduct. They don't make a payment. How am I going to collect? How am I? You mean to say I have to collect less money, pay more taxes, and still wait for them to do it? So it is. These are issues that is there. When you go there, you have to argue. And I don't blame the employees at BORS because they say, look, my system says I can't override it. How do you want me to do it?
Exactly.
So wait, this has become have a dialogue with BRS and all these kind of problems because as practitioners we also get a lot of these complaints and problems, so we can take it to BRS and say work together. I'm sure they have their own limitations. It's not wrong intention. It's just how it is set up.
Yeah.
Especially because there seems to be no option for employees to then pay directly. You know what I mean?
No, it's already getting a lower amount. Now after that, they are still.
Yes. Yeah.
Speaking of issues with PRS, and Rajesh, not to try to get you kicked out of the country, but the minister did mention that one of the bills they want to put to Parliament with regards to taxes and collecting taxes is something that will help eliminate duplication when people are paying taxes. There's also other issues that we've always heard about PRS. Now, I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe why not fix the problems that we have that have to do with collection so that we know exactly how much tax we're collecting? Because I can imagine there's a lot of tax that's going through the fingers that we're using. So why not fix all those problems, get these systems in place, the payee systems, just to ensure that we understand exactly how much we have before we start talking about increasing taxes. I mean, 1.5 is not too much. It's not a lot.
I wouldn't be surprised if the VAT is increased to 15% tomorrow as well.
Sheesh.
Please don't give
Come on.
No, but it could be just to harmonize it around the region. South Africa has 15, everywhere is 15. So it just makes trade easier as well. You and I have to pay that 1% more as an end user. But look, I'm not carrying it, or I don't have any inside information based on which I'm saying that it's going to be 15. But it would make sense to me. But to come back to your question, the whatever policies or whatever has been talked about in the budget is to ensure that the collection increases better. Like I said, online VAT filing or the raising of invoices will ensure that both the person who is charging and the person who is collecting have it on their system. So they don't have to forget it. So the moment I raise an invoice, I do this. So I'm not going to do it. So I have 4 months to pay VAT, right, from an invoice date. So I also have a problem because people don't pay me on time, right? And as a small practice, I don't have an overdraft facility or something where I can borrow money. So I need to collect it to pay. So what do I do? I will do a pro forma invoice and send it across to the client, and only when he pays, I'll charge it to VAT. So in a lot of instances, what is now going to happen is if we do that, he can't claim VAT. So he is also not going to pay. There's going to be a problem. So I have to raise an invoice and pay. The moment I raise the invoice, the VAT will become due. In 2 months, I have to ensure I collect it or find money to pay. So that way it will happen. So the collection will happen for the government. I know the practical problems are there, but I'm just saying a genuine problem. Sometimes I might forget. Sometimes you'll say, okay, I need money for this. Let me pay it next month or the month after that. When I have more money, anything can happen.
Yeah.
But collection to the government has to happen.
Yeah.
And these kind of systems will enforce or make sure that the collection happens. So, yes, you're right. Instead of increasing, why can't you look at it? I'm sure with introducing more systems, properly governed, will definitely make it much more streamlined. Income will become easier for collection, easier to pay. And as long as you know this has to happen, it will happen.
Yes, and maybe also they should look at giving tax cuts, right? With unemployment rates so high, they should say, okay, if you employ 5 people, we will cut your tax by, 100
But,
kulas. So I think,
which-
okay, so if I employ more people, then I get more tax cuts.
Which goes back to your earlier point that incentives like that. It's much easier for government to say, okay, no, we can make accommodation for this, instead of going to them looking for a grant and saying, listen, I'm employing 5 people, I'm struggling to pay them. Please give me an extra 1,000 every month. When you go to them and say, listen, just do something for me there with tax, it's a much easier conversation.
You're right, and this is how Spedu and everything came in,
Yes,
and
yes.
also the new zones that we are looking at is also coming, and they're not restricted to what the government are putting up. If you have a big, like a big developer who wants to come in and wants to do some setup, and where he will collect industries and bring them across. BITC will again grant them the Speedo rates and the economic zone rates, SEZ rates, etc. So it is not restricted only. Even as an individual, if you are a big entrepreneur or you have a big company who wants to come up and set up a big plant and supporting all other plants in between, mushrooming around that place, that whole area could be made into SEZ. So there are opportunities that is there. So it is up to us to tap it and make sure it happens. I mean, if you want to just go to the office, come back, then your taxes will start going up. So get into business.
Yeah, it's very interesting how, like, I can imagine, say, Spedu. If you set up in Spedu manufacturing, you're paying 10% tax, right? And I can imagine, because it's happening right now, a lot of people take it for granted. Manufacturers in Gaborone, I'm not interested. I'm in textile. And when I see the incentives that government used to give to the textile industry, the mid 2000s until the 2010s, it's insane. And when I read news articles about how the companies used to speak about these incentives and how they took them for granted, I was like, no, we want more. No, please do more. Please. And I'm just like, if we had this now, we would be out of here.
Yes, especially because over the years I've seen that Botswana has stopped producing.
Yes,
like generally
yes,
across the board. Because there used to be a tanning facility, I think in Lobaze. There used to be factories, in Silibi Pikwe. There was soap and plastic industry and so on. Because I feel like government actually motivated people to go into the production and manufacturing industry. But now I feel like we are producing more employees and workers than we are people that produce.
You're very right when you said that the government has done a lot. And probably they didn't see it. That's the reason they withdrew some of those things or they stopped some of those things, because they also have to see they have to also see something happening. Having incentive to do something in tourism industry, and nobody sets up a hotel, or they just want to be in Habroni and not go, or only the Delta, I will not go somewhere else, creates a problem. That's why it says pay to go there and do it. How many people did that? So as a result, what the government says, maybe this is not the right thing, let me try something else. So existing people will lose it. It's a sad thing. It's a change in mindset.
Yes.
Everybody has to think that I am the reason the country goes forward, and it'll start a progress. But I don't want to say more on this thing. It may not look sincere.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You've been doing for quite a while.
Yes, thank you so much, Rajesh. That was actually quite insightful. And if you are agreeable to being a regular for us, I think we really need to talk a lot more tax law, and things of that nature. Because I think a lot of us, myself included, are very blind when it comes to tax. Terribly blind. Yes.
Thank you very much. It was enjoyable. It was quite nervous at the start, but I guess both of you made it quite interesting.
That's
And
fantastic.
asking the right questions. I mean, asking the questions which I can answer.
Awesome. So next time I should prepare the
No, please don't do that. Don't make it an exam. But this is nice, and I'm sure from the way we talk, there are a lot of ideas and a lot of areas of taxes which we can discuss more.
Exactly. And we will also ask the audience if they have other questions in relation to tax, because I didn't know about this tax in relation to farming. I was completely unaware, and it sounds like something that a lot of people might want to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Awesome. Rajesh from RN Tax Consulting.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Catch the Botswana Thinking Law podcast on YouTube and Spotify, and catch Botswana Thinking Law on various social media platforms, Facebook, X, TikTok, and so on, where we talk about Botswana law in English and Setswana.